Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Young Gruff and I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
On episode 173, Super Bowl 58 happened, which in the world of American sports is a big deal, but we are not a sports podcast. But we probably could maybe transition into it with your hockey fanboyness and my Australians. But anyway, it's also a big deal in the world of cinema. That's right, 1 billion movie trailers come out, and we're gonna talk about a bunch of them.
Exactly, and then we also did watch some movies, like, for example, I did watch Madam Web, and I do want condolences from everyone in the comments, please, because I did sit through it, and it was hell, like expected. I also watched Lisa Frankenstein, the Netflix series adaptation of One Day, and for the first time, I caught Megamind. So I'll let you know what I thought of that. Then Lachlan is making his way through Villeneuve's filmography for an upcoming bracket. I should do the same. I haven't yet. Lots to do for me. But you watched Sicario and Arrival. And then you also caught the second season of Invincible, Part 1. Perfect timing for this trailer discussion later in today's episode of Part 2, which comes out in March.
Finally! This Sunday night, or whatever night you are watching/listening to this podcast, Ewan the film dominatrix Graf and Lachlan the Dune fanboy Teely take on the infamous Van Erich brothers. That's right, in this week's topic film, the Quiet on Set podcast will talk about the 2023 film and Oscar snub, The Iron Claw.
Both of us don't have the hand size to pull that off. Because, my God, Holt Cannelly, I think is his name. Dude, the size of his hand, that's a man's hand. That's a man's hand.
That's a man's hands.
Anyways, little boy's hand is clicking the button to cue up the intro right now, so that's what I'll do. So let's play the intro.
Oop.
We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there.
Which actually,
did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dune Cam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
Welcome back, Lachlan. Again, a busy week, and let's waste no time and get straight into it. First up, we are gonna take a look at all of the trailers that dropped at this year's Super Bowl with the Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs, right? That's the one that we cheer for because Taylor Swift is dating one of them.
Yes.
The other ones are the 69ers, which nice, right? That's nice. The other ones in the finale. I watched one Super Bowl actually the year that I was in Australia, and I haven't done it since, which actually that one was fairly entertaining. Gotta stay with one sport, and that's hockey, and I'm famished. I'm satisfied. But we're gonna take a look at all of the trailers that dropped, which, by the way, for the spot alone, you had to pay $7 million for 30 seconds this year. And I think most of the trailers do just show a 30-second clip, which is usually edited together kind of weirdly. And then alongside that, they have a longer trailer that goes up at the same time so people can go check that out while other trailers drop. I heard it was one of the highest rated, if not the highest rated Super Bowl ever. So thanks, Taylor Swift, for that. Although I do not care about American football, but it means a lot of exposure for these films. Was it worth it for them? I mean, last year they paid like also 6-7 million for a spot for Air. I don't know if it was worth to advertise that movie, although they were like sporting event.
Yeah.
Venn diagram. This is great. But let's have a look at the first trailer, which was for A Quiet Place Day 1. We've already gotten trailers. This was a short spot that basically highlighted that Lupita Nyong'o's character is basically not really talking much, but there's a lot going on around her. I feel like the trailer did a decent enough job. Lachlan, what did you think? This is a good one?
Yeah, look, I've said this before with A Quiet Place Day 1. They did what they did with the story. I don't think they can go any further. I want to see something else, and I'd like to see a little bit more action, and I feel like A Quiet Place Day 1 is going to give me that perfect amount of thrillery action, and I'm keen for it. I am keen for it.
I did also watch, by the way, on another note, all the ads, because I feel like that's always kind of fun to check out what all of those Americans got to see. And apparently, like, localized, they got like a Kanye West ad in Chicago or something. I don't know, something strange like that. There was also like AI generated Jesus ones. Mark Wahlberg also did a random one. It's a bizarre year, but at least it wasn't like 15 different crypto companies shilling their shitty product. Yeah, sports betting, I guess, is on the rise. Next up, we got the Fall Guy. David Leitch was quick in and out with directing, I guess, a new Jurassic World or Park movie, and he left that project again. But he's got Fall Guy coming out in, I think, a month or two. Ryan Gosling. I don't know. I'm not really sold on this movie, so I kind of put it lower. I put it like in C tier, because I feel like when we have that maybe self-aware thing, then Deadpool is the only place where I kind of want to see that, and I don't really need it in all of the other media.
I think that they're really trying to push the people in the film and not the actual film itself, which is kind of funny.
I mean, that's very Super Bowl, you know.
It's very Super Bowl-y, but it's the only one that really tried selling, other than maybe Deadpool, selling the people in the film more than the actual film itself. Which we'll get to the Deadpool trailer shortly, but it definitely felt like they were like, here is Emily Blunt, or here's Emily motherfucking Blunt, and here is Ryan motherfucking Gosling. And they say that in the trailer, and they're trying to sell the actors in it, which is a smart move in the current climate of Gosling fandom happening, and they're just capitalizing on that rush, and that's okay with me, because I don't think this film has had the best marketing for it so far, because it does not really seem to have a coherent advertisement structure. It just feels like it's like, here's this trailer, then here's this trailer, and they all feel a little bit different and a little bit wacky, and we're just trying to figure out what this film is. But out of all of the trailers, it was not the worst, but it did have the weirdest feeling to it.
It's like, just kind of generic.
Yeah, why am I being sold this trailer based on not story, not what's going to happen in it, but just Gosling cracking jokes? Like,
and I feel like I don't know. I don't know if the joke, the ending with Taylor Swift existed before this, or if they specifically added this in. I mean, perfect for them, you know. When he's listening. It feels similar to like that moment in The Bear where Cousin was also listening to T Swift. But I feel like for that, I guess it kind of nails the audience. It's kind of going for the rare crossover there. But I'm just not more interested in the film for general audiences, apart from having seen him in Barbie and maybe being more on the Ryan Gosling train. I don't know. I'd also put it in B tier. Probably like most of these films are trailers are gonna be like somewhere in B tier for me, because they're okay. No, but they achieve a job. I think if we did all of the ads, you'll get a lot of like F and D tier, just because there were some really bad ones. But for movies, they just gotta show something that's exciting, and that's basically all they have to do. You know, they don't have to do that much. You can't really go that wrong. The biggest hurdle they have to overcome is to show it in 30 seconds and get people interested enough to check out the actual trailer that isn't as cut up. Speaking of something that's cut up into two parts, Wicked, the musical Broadway adaptation starring Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, had its first trailer, and I think one of them is Ariana Grande playing like a princess. I don't know. She's someone pale, and then Cynthia Erivo is green, and that's all I could remember from this trailer, because it looks so incredibly artificial, and somehow they also don't show a lot of singing. Again, it's like, what are they doing? This is a musical. So, yeah, I think this was probably the worst of the trailers.
Have you seen The Wizard of Oz?
I'm not gonna lie.
Have you seen The Wizard of Oz?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know the main princess?
The Wicked
in The
Witch.
Wizard of Oz? No. the princess.
The Wicked Witch, Wicked Bitch is what I call her.
No. So the other one, the one with the crown, the one that eventually sends Dorothy, that is Ariana Grande's character.
Right, cool. Because is it a prequel?
Wicked is a prequel, but this is...
Oh my god, Lachlan, it's a prequel! I'm so excited now.
Wait, stop, don't get excited.
Okay.
Because it's like Mean Girls.
Part 2 set after? Oh,
it's
like
not based off the prequel of the movie. It's based off the prequel musical adaptation. So it's an adaptation of the musical, which is a prequel to the main story of The Wizard of Oz.
So comic books?
Can you stop?
you kind of...
Can you stop pretending not to understand what's happening?
I don't know what you mean. I mean, do you think audiences understood that? Not our audiences, but like the Super Bowl audiences, you know.
So the musical Wicked is a very popular musical.
Yeah. But they clearly also hide the fact that this is a part.
It's a musical. They hide the fact it's a part 1. I only knew it was a part 1 right now.
Yeah. It's crazy. And apparently, like, from people who are familiar, which I've never seen the musical, from what they show in the trailer, they said that that's like most of the story. So I don't know what they're saving for part 2. It's even funnier.
Can't wait.
C tier,
from the
right?
From the director of G.I. Joe Retaliation and Crazy Rich Asians brings you...
He's... the thing is...
And In the Heights.
Like, I love In the Heights. Yes. I know in 2024 it's cringe to like Lin-Manuel Miranda, but the music is actually like really good in that. Anthony Ramos is great in it. I think the direction... He's such a boring director. The way that he shoots stuff. And he keeps... getting these like musical things, but he shoots it like so front on and stale when there's
can you
more
go
to
watch
do.
Step Up to the Streets and then come back and tell me that he's a boring director?
Oh, he did that.
He did that?
I don't know. I guess I need to step it up.
Tell me that he's a terrible director after you go and watch
Channing
Justin
Tate,
Bieber Never Say Never.
Damn. Okay. Never Say Never.
The movie.
Cool.
And tell me he's a
well, I'm also
director.
basing it off what I saw in Wicked, which is just really bland CGI backgrounds everywhere, and I doubt it's gonna look any better. Also, last week I said this for sure has to be a Disney movie, but it clearly is. Oh fuck, I'm blanking on it again. Universal. I'm just gonna go on a limb and say Universal because everything's Universal. Universal is having a huge year. A24's Wicked would be crazy because like it wouldn't be Cynthia Erivo in just like perfect green makeup, but something like really hideous. Would look like the Green Knight musical coming in 2025. Imagine that. If that happened, Imaginary Friends trailer. That's a transition.
Directed by Ari Aster.
Yeah, that actually wouldn't be. I mean. Look, the Orion and the Dark collaboration with Charlie Kaufman worked, so I don't see why if.
I've heard mixed things. You're telling me it worked, and people are telling me that it was trash.
Yeah, I mean you gotta experience it yourself. If you like family, if you like Fast and Furious, you'll like it, because like it becomes about family, and I do love family. Shout outs to the fam. If is another one of the Fall Guy, falls under the Fall Guy category of just showing off as many people as possible, right? Just kind of feels that. It was
a weird Super Bowl trailer mix because it either has like...
Oh, no, wait, sorry. It had
John Krasinski
I'm completely
in
mixing them up. Yeah.
It either has John Krasinski in it, or his wife, Emily Blunt, right? Or the movie has Ryan Reynolds in it, or it's got Ryan Gosling in it.
It's a lot of crossover.
Like, there's a lot of... Like, that's a... Man! Is that like the new super family that you have to worry about in Hollywood? Like... The Krasinskis and Blunts.
It's what you get, you know. It's frowned upon to do incest in society nowadays. But
and Steve Carell is in If, and then Despicable Me 4.
It's an Office reference. I forgot. I thought there was an actual trailer, but they did the Office reference. Lachlan, I don't know if you're familiar, but Randall Park in one of the episodes plays a prank on Dwight with Jim. It's very funny.
Incredible.
And yeah. It's very funny.
I don't know where this is going.
It's just very funny. Look, they're also shopping around, or they're talking about doing an Office reboot, right? Or like a sequel thing at one point. Just let things be. Which I can't say about this next thing because I haven't even seen the original. With Twisters, they're doing the Ridley Scott, the James Cameron approach of adding a dollar sign at the end and just multiplying by 2, and I'm all for it. I think people who've seen the original have said that from the trailer, it's not really clear if this is like a sequel, a reboot, a whatever it is, because it feels like similar characters that they already had in the first one. I don't care. I'll check out Twister, the first one, before this one comes out, and then I'll gladly watch this because it's got movie star Glenn Powell in it. And what's her? Oh, fuck, I'm blanking on her name.
Daisy
and then
Jones?
Exactly, Daisy Edgar Jones, who I did see in person, and just another reminder that I had an interview lined up and I fucked it up and it was late and I never got to talk to her one-on-one. Also, the aforementioned Anthony Ramos is in this. So I'm very keen. David Cornsweet, future Superman. Stacked cast. I'm looking forward to because we don't get a lot of event films anymore. Maybe A Quiet Place Day One is kind of similar-ish to that, but this is something unique that's kind of lost in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and I'm keen for it. Probably I gotta say, I think this was probably the best trailer from the Super Bowl. Got me really hyped about it.
Also, the sort of like basic logline on Letterboxd is chase, ride, survive. Come on, that's good. That's good.
That's
and
good. Yeah.
What a success Glenn Powell's having at the moment, right? Like he is like
Box
give
office
it
darling.
a few years and a controversy will come out, but right now he's riding that wave. Right now he is riding that wave. He has had a successful past 2 to 3 years.
He is so painfully charming. If you see him also outside of movie roles, that there's gotta be something under the surface. Something brewing.
I am really in the mindset that we don't really have like many stars these days, like big famous, like this is the actor from this generation, but he's currently popping up in a lot of stuff, and I'm very keen to keep seeing him. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, him and Elordi, I guess, are the biggest new up-and-comers of the last, like, two years, I'd say. Another movie star, Ryan Reynolds, who has kind of typecasted himself into the Deadpool role in literally every project that he's a part of, is part of the first MCU outing of Deadpool. He's not getting recast. Also seems like they're not recasting Wolverine anytime soon. From the short little trailer that we got, outside of the behind-the-scenes photos that we got to see of Hugh Jackman, there's not much more because the trailer ends with just a looming shadow. I think this one kind of nailed what it was going for, and you can see that in the success of the trailer, breaking the all-time record for most views in 24 hours with 365 million. I think there was a bit of a controversy because I wasn't sure if they maybe bought it or added like this, or like the Super Bowl views to that view count. I couldn't really see any reports that were clarifying if that happened or not. It broke the record from Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah, it's crazy. Much like the economy, views seem to be inflated as well. And yeah, it's all going up, Lachlan. Bye. This is the only project that Marvel has this year. I feel like that's probably not the worst approach, although we'll talk about MCU in a second with the Fantastic Four casting and how many they have in 2025 at the moment. But this seems to be the only film. And Lachlan, you think it's going to be a huge success, a movie that is able to like gross to $1 billion, or where do you think it will
I don't
land?
know if it can be a huge success. I think it most likely will be from the trend of Marvel movies. The ones that are new and the ones that no one care about are getting butts into seats. But Deadpool has been a great example of someone or a character that people will come back to, even if the film isn't as good, and people will ride on the jokes. I think people want this to be good because many people have said it. and I completely agree. The future of Marvel's cinematic universe rests on the shoulders of Sean Levy, Ryan Reynolds, and Hugh Jackman right now. Because if this
you think so?
film flops, man, I feel like if this film flops and it's not to the expectation of, Phase 2, or to the same quality of, say, Phase 2, Phase 3 MCU, then this will be the end of the MCU for sure. People will not have any reason to go and see any of the future Marvel projects. Maybe, as we have news casting about the Fantastic Four later on in the episode, maybe the Fantastic Four, but this is the first in a long time of a character that has broken bounds. And everyone who went to see the movie when it was like, oh look, I'm not 18 yet, when Deadpool came out, and now 18 they're going to go see it because it's going to be R18 in the States. And I just think that there's a lot that lies in this film. It's
interesting because both of the first two films basically did the same amount of money. There wasn't like a huge increase for the second one. If this one can do around, it is better if there's more money. Yes, that's the logic. Yes, but I mean, if it makes around 800 million, I think then it's pretty much a success. And it's gonna be probably similar to Guardians 3, although maybe that franchise is a bit more beloved than Deadpool, because we've grown to hate kind of that Deadpool-esque fourth wall break thing that all of the MCU projects had, not by breaking the fourth wall, but basically addressing the audiences a bit more subtly, not directly, right? But I also think it's interesting that they trademarked a couple different titles, like Deadpool and Friend at one point. Just a silly little gag. Although this is definitely the better choice to have Wolverine in the title, because that's gonna get a lot of people interested that are like from the Fox X-Men franchise, and they also had the trailer for X-Men 97 come out, I think, earlier this week for that animated series that concluded in 97. They're continuing it. That didn't look too great, but Deadpool and Wolverine, I think it's gonna be a hit. I think it's gonna be one of the biggest films of the year. I would be surprised if it's not in at least like the top 5 by the end of the year, if not like the highest grosser. I think this trailer really achieved what it did. Did I say for Twisters where I put it like that in A tier? Deadpool and Wolverine as well in A tier. I think they kind of nailed what they set out to do. A couple more trailers. Let's do the animated ones first. I'm not even sure because I didn't really see a ton of people talking about it, if they even had a Super Bowl spot. I just thought they did. But Kung Fu Panda 4 got one. Not really in the franchise. I've only seen the first one. Yeah, Lachlan, what do you think? This gonna be a hit?
Yeah, sure. I kind of fell off after the second one, so yeah, I'd like to rewatch them. They're great.
I kind of Monkey. You know the quote when one of the
Monkey Man. I'm keen for this. I want John Wick, Monkey Man. I want who does
Nobody.
Nobody. Yeah. I want him to be in it. I want all of the unbeatable action stars to be in one big action crossover event.
One big monkey.
Who is the most immovable force in any of those movies?
Yeah. They also had like a 30-second trailer that basically showed off all of the action, and I think that's the best case scenario. I mean, the behind the scenes story is also great that like Netflix wanted to dump this, and then Jordan Peele stepped in, made sure it's getting a theatrical release. All around, just great story. Because by the way, how late this is getting a I guess promotional push, you can see that Netflix was just gonna dump this on the site without any promotion whatsoever. So yeah, it's great that it's getting like even a Super Bowl spot. Inside Out 2, I really like that they showed hockey, and because I like hockey. And
you love hockey.
This hockey. I do love hockey. I actually have. This year I've watched the most hockey I've ever have, and I'm really excited after today's episode. I watched one game last night, and there's 12 more to go that I haven't seen. No, 11 more. I watched another one last night. 12 more that I can kind of, there's just always a lot of hockey on. 82 game season per team. So that's very fun. I'm keen for Inside Out too, just for the hockey scenes alone. The rest I don't particularly care about. Despicable Me 4 had a AI sort of trailer where basically had the minions all typing into computers, and then it was like some stuff that is off about AI. They kind of incorporated into it with like down to the logo that kind of looked a bit fucked up. I think it's a pretty clever trailer. I gotta give them that. I hate the franchise. I hate the minions. I detest it. I also don't like Despicable Me, but that was a good little jokey trailer. So can't fault them for that. We missed one of the I don't know. Do you have anything to say about the minions? I doubt you have, right? No, yeah, I assumed. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We've also talked about that in recent weeks. I think that one, I gotta give it. Like, I love the trailer. If I have to judge it by how well it introduced it to like a general audience, I don't think if it did like the best job, because it seems to be a pretty simple story. Ultimately, like an ape who sees the faults in his regime that is hunting humans, and he says like, that's not good. Don't do that. And that's probably gonna be most of it, but it looks stunning. And I'm into it. I don't know, because like the all of the other ape films, the latest trilogy was so good that if we go further down that franchise, if there's much else to tell, that also can be up to the same level. The Boys, big game trailer spot. You're not allowed to say Super Bowl in marketing. I don't know if we are even allowed to say Super Bowl. Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, the big game trailer. They didn't have an official one that was like aired during the game, but they did upload one on the VOD YouTube channel that basically poked fun at the trailers and what they stand for, like horses and a dog and American flags. I think it is sort of clever. It makes me concerned for the series though, if this is the type of broad humor that they go for, because they go a bit over the top and how close they want to stay with like real life and making fun of that instead of just making a coherent world themselves. And if it's just reference points of the latest thing that happened in the last 2 years in real world, then I don't know if I'm too interested in it, because I feel like the basis was already there. You can now construct your own story on top of that. As a funny little goof, Lachlan, it made me laugh. I think it was kind of funny. And then, Lachlan, you had that on your most anticipated list. The Sasquatch Sunset film is getting a theatrical release. It got some diverging reviews out of Sundance, with some people absolutely hating it, and some people being along for the ride of just a bunch of Sasquatches going around pissing, shitting, eating, and fucking, basically. That seems to be the story. So yeah. Lachlan, are you keen for this, or
Yeah, man, this is right up my alley. I will not miss this film. I think that this film could be what the planet needs right now. I think that there is so much hatred in the world, and I feel like if there was a mandatory screening of if there was a mandatory viewing of Sasquatch Sunset, which is a mouthful to say,
yeah,
this would cure the world of all of the diseases.
Yeah.
I've heard the diverse reviews as well, but yeah, I'm keen to see this one.
Yeah, it's so out there that it seems kind of fun, even if it's not fun. I'm down for this as well. And then Invincible Season 2, Part 2, got its trailer. It's coming out on March 14th. Very much looking forward to this. I think the first part of the second season had some interesting stories, and it's with animation, when it's good, it feels like you gotta wait so much for sometimes so little, because they can't do as much, as you can do with live action. And it got me hyped. Looks to be interesting. It feels like if this is just 4 episodes that they showed in these trailers, I'm like, that looks like 10. I don't know. There seems to be a lot of substance that they have to cover. A lot of story in those few episodes, but still looking forward to it. I think it's been really solid. I assume it's got to be the same for you, or anything.
Yeah, well, I just watched the first part of season 2, so I'm keen for it.
That's it for the trailers. Then we got a couple of news stories. The biggest one among them is the official announcement of the cast for Fantastic Four, at least the lead four, with Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, aka Invisible Woman, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, aka Human Torch, and Eben Moz Backrack. I'm not exact. I'll just say cousin, because that's easier to say. Cousin is Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, and apparently Galactus might be the main villain of the film, potentially, and Javier Bardem seems to be the top choice at the moment, but that's only rumors so far. Yeah, Lachlan, what do you make of this cast announcement?
Well, I think that this was announced ages ago. Everyone kind of figured this shit out, so I'm not, oh wow, amazing, this is incredible, because I don't care, for one, and two, it all rides on whether Deadpool and Wolverine is good or not, and if it's bad, then I will not care for the Fantastic Four unless they get some really hyped up Doctor Doom shit happening, and it's like and like, was it Mads Mikkelsen that was rumored to do Doctor Doom?
Yeah.
Because oh man, yeah. I'd be so in for that. I'd be so in for that one. But hey, I'll leave it for now. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's interesting casting. There's definitely an oversaturation for Pedro Pascal in all of your favorite franchises. Joseph Quinn, good for him to go from Stranger Things to this. Hopefully it's a step up. Same goes for Cousin. Get the bag, and hopefully, Deadpool is all right. I don't think even if Deadpool isn't as good as the first two, and more disliked by the general audiences, that Fantastic Four is a bust. Then it's just, have we ever gotten no, we haven't gotten a good Fantastic Four film, like, at all, ever. So
define good.
Well, not the 3 movies that came out then. They were all bad. But yeah, so that's one of the films for Marvel that comes out in 2025. Currently on their slate, they have 5 movies coming out that year, starting with Captain America Brave New World on February 15th. May 2nd, we get Thunderbolts. Then July 25th, Fantastic Four. And then November 7th, Blade. But I don't know if Blade is coming out. I don't know what they're working with. That's 4 movies, 1 year, and just one this year. So I guess I do kind of agree that if Deadpool really nails it, then the excitement for 4 Marvel movies, like, they can pull that off. If it doesn't, then I wouldn't be surprised if they change their release schedule for this again. And I don't know if Blade is coming out even. Likely to still have, like, production issues. But out of those 4 is like, after, or like, even including Deadpool 3 here, which ones of these, if any, do you care about, or are you most excited for?
Deadpool.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. That's because, like,
they've got one chance to prove themselves, and if they don't do it, I'm not going to watch anymore.
Lachlan is, dude, you're channeling your inner Ironclaw father. It's like, you gotta prove to me.
Yeah,
you shot at the
sort
world
it out
championship
between your brothers.
Sort it out between your brothers. Sounds good. I wish that was the case for Coyote and Acme, but that film, Coyote and Acme, is getting scrapped yet again after it came out that they were writing it off as a tax write-off. They were setting to shop it around, but they've also scrapped that again. So they're just writing off the, I think, $68 or $70 million that this movie cost. Yeah. It sucks. I mean, even if the movie sucks, I feel like why not? Sony released Madam Web. Why can't you release Coyote versus Acme? Madam Web is out. And that movie is atrocious. So it can't be worse than that. And it can't harm the Warner Bros. Brand. It's just dumb. It's just dumb overall. Then something for you gamers out there. After last week's Disney investor call, we get another announcements in the gaming sphere, although not tied to Epic Games here, for the Disney universe, namely Star Wars, with a first-person bounty hunter game for the Mandalorian done by Respawn. They are the people behind Apex Legends, but they've also done the last two Fallen Jedi games, which, Lachlan, I think you played both of them?
Yep.
Yes? So is this something they were third person though, right? This is first person. What do you think? Is this exciting in the world of gaming to get a game as like a bounty hunter?
Well, I haven't. Look, I don't want to comment because you don't know, right? There's a lot of Star Wars.
It all depends on
right
Deadpool.
It all depends on Deadpool. There's a lot of Star Wars games in development right now, and I really will hold my breath because the most recent one was a little bit disappointing to play on release. I think that it has a lot of potential, but just didn't really live up to what it could be. So
wait. Look, so, Lachlan, consider this: if you're a bounty hunter, if one of your big objectives is to hunt bugs, maybe you can release a buggy game and no one could say shit.
You reached so far to bring
grabbed
that
so
together,
little.
I loved it. Look, I don't care for the Mandalorian. I just want Jedis. That's all I want. Like, give me Jedis. That's all I care about. I don't care for the Mandalorian race and their story. Like I do a little bit. Like I just don't think a game, unless it's really fleshed out gameplay. I just don't. It's probably gonna be a looter shooter. It's gonna be live service looter shooter, first person. Microtransaction to hell, and I'm gonna be crying myself to sleep.
It would be very fun if it's like a Hitman-esque game in the Star Wars universe, but that's not what it's going to be, right?
That would be
Most
cool.
Likely.
That would be cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Look, the Star Wars Outlaws. Who's making Star Wars Outlaws? Is being made by Ubisoft.
Oh God.
By Massive Entertainment, right? So, well, I mean, yeah. So Star Wars Outlaws is like an upcoming game. It's a single-player, third-person action-adventure game set in the Star Wars universe, set in an open world. It will feature stealth, open combat, vehicle combat, space combat, and branching dialogue. This is all from Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt. But like, I'm excited for that because that sounds cool. Because even though it's not Jedi, it does sound like it's a fleshed-out world where you kind of get to choose what you want to do. If I had the choice in like an open world Star Wars game and you could pick from any character, I just wouldn't pick a Mandalorian. I just wouldn't. So that's just my opinion.
But like you said, there's a ton of stuff still in development and like remakes, and I'm not on top of it, but it seems to be a lot of stuff in the gaming space is being done with Star Wars. And yeah, now that Disney is involved, I'm kind of wondering if most of their stuff is going to be Marvel related. I mean, there's still that Wolverine game, right?
3, 4, hang on, 5.
Counting all the Star Wars.
7. There's 7 Star Wars games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 Star Wars games in development right now.
Yeah, that's quite a few. I can't wait to play every single one of them, or at least own them and never play them.
You mean buy them? Yeah.
The Berlinale has started. I'm not attending. We're not attending, but maybe I'll link a couple of interesting people below that are covering the festival. But yeah, nothing really buzzy coming out yet. It's the early days of the festival at the moment, but usually there's a couple of titles that premiere there, and then I'm like, oh, this has never played anywhere, but it seems to be quite good. And then I see, oh, I played at the Berlinale, but you're not really paying attention as much to these early festivals. Maybe Sundance, but not Berlinale. But this sometimes like some really good gems, the premiere there. And then there was also something that I saw about Roadhouse that I found interesting. And not really news, just that apparently Amazon offered Doug Lyman and Jake Gyllenhaal the option to put Roadhouse into theaters for a budget of $60 million. But if they do a streaming only movie, they get $85 million. This was almost something that I picked as the discussion topic today, but Lachlan, I'll get your thoughts just here. What do you think about this? Like these options that streamers seem to give, like, hey, we'll give you less, but you get theatrical, which also is kind of weird because they would also make more money off the film ultimately. So it feels like, I don't know, in all parts of this, the actual creators are suffering from it because they get a lesser budget for not more money. It's all to the benefit of ultimately, I guess, the biggest streaming brand. But yeah, what do you think?
Well, I guess it does cost money to distribute it, or you just go, here you go. So I mean, there is money, and you know, we're entering our probably like 7th or 8th year of streaming being big. So we haven't even hit the Big 10 yet, where streaming has been super popular, I reckon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take some time for us to figure this out. But Amazon offering X amount of money for... Wait, it's Amazon offering it, right?
Yeah, Amazon, film. Yeah.
Wait, so they're just kicking themselves in... well, because they were going to put it on streaming anyway. You know what?
No, it's just the budget for
That's interesting.
Producing the film, producing the film. The budget they give to the filmmaker. Yeah. That's what they were.
Yeah.
But I was also wondering if like it factors in like the you get more money. It doesn't say that, but obviously we always have an against the studio for the creator sort of mentality, which you should. I'm wondering if there's any nuance in this where the 60 million gets quoted for it's 25 million less, right, than 85. I can do math. If that's like the money that would get invested in the distribution and the promotion of the film, if it were to get a theatrical release, which isn't kind of, I guess, summed into the total for the production cost. And if they dump it on the service, they can, because Amazon owns IMDb, they can just push it a bit on IMDb and all of those other places, and it doesn't really cost them that much more. But I don't know. I really don't know, but I just hope the movie is gonna be good, and I guess we're gonna get it. Look, to me, it's also like it's I got a complicated relationship with this, because it often means if a movie gets a theatrical release only, that it's only going to be the States, because international distribution is always so behind. So to me, there's like a benefit to it coming to streaming directly, although it kind of harms the film, and it's a two-edged sword, double-sided sword, or what is it called? Blade. That movie's definitely getting made. But yeah, that's that. Thought just was an interesting discussion topic, which we wanted to discuss today what the most cinematic sport is. But we're already so deep just with news, as we always are in the last couple of episodes. So Lachlan, I'm just gonna get like a one-sentence answer from you. It's not gonna be a discussion topic, but basically, a summed up thing. What do you think is the most cinematic sport?
So are you referring to what sport becomes the most cinematic when filmed, or like which sport on TV right now, just when you watch it, to watch the actual sport, is cinematic? What's the question here?
Yes.
Fuck you. Jeez. What's the most cinematic
I'd say on screen.
sport?
On screen, not actual watching sports, because we're not a sports podcast. So what in entertainment form?
Figure skating? I, Tonya?
That's actually, that's this other one where there's a big jump and then she beheads someone, I think. I've seen that film. That's a crazy one. I don't remember the movie, but that's just a scene that's ingrained in my memory. Yeah, I'd love to say hockey. It's not hockey. I don't know what other sport I would be really rooting for. It's definitely not soccer, or football. Sorry, football. Europeans are gonna kill me. It's also not American football. I think to me it's the most popular one as far as like seeing depictions of it. I think basketball is probably like the most cinematic one. Just because
boxing.
it's so incredibly quick pace. Oh yeah, boxing as well.
Boxing's a good one.
Yeah, boxing is definitely a good one.
There's
No,
a lot of
that's definitely boxing. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think that there's a ton of like American football and baseball films, but I never think that they're cinematic. I think that they're a lot more, they're shot a lot more realistically, and I think that that's just the portrayal of them, where I do find that boxing, basketball, and I Tonya not
Curling.
so much, but those two, hurling, of course, they're a lot more dramatized for the little events. Like the layups in basketballs, just they hang for like that, 20 minutes too long. It's just that slow motion, like yes. So and you don't really get that. So yeah,
it's
I think
Bugs
that
Bunny.
it's. I also think that a lot of the racing stuff is quite cinematic. I think Ford versus Ferrari comes into my head. Even with
Rush.
what was the one from last year? The PlayStation one. It's not Need for Speed. It's
F1.
Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo was cinematic, and I think I just want to add one more in there. Surf's Up, the animated movie, cinematic as fucking all hell.
As far as swimming goes, Finding Nemo is also a great one. I just wonder how long they can hold their breath. Yeah, I think this. If we had more time, we could definitely get a bit more in depth what makes it cinematic and all of that. Maybe we got another sports movie on the horizon, but with that, we'll
is Challengers
gonna
make tennis cinematic, or is it gonna make tennis sexy?
Horny, yeah, it's gonna, yes, and
Yes.
yeah. I mean, yeah, probably just yes. It's gonna make it sexy. Anyways, all right, that's it for discussion time. Let's talk about what we've been watching this week.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
All right, Lachlan, what have you been up to?
I'll go through it really quickly because it's not too much to talk about. I did say I watched Invincible Season 2 Part 1. I didn't realize Part 2 was coming out, and I completely forgot that it was separated, so it kind of just stopped, and I was like, what? But it was really good, so highly rate it. I also finished Monarch, and I think it ended on a bit of a dud. It was, but I think overall the show kind of came together, and it's the glue of the Godzilla vs. Kong cinematic universe, and it just got me hyped for the new Godzilla Kong New Empire movie that's coming out in like 2 months, so sign me up to that. And then finally, we are going to be doing a Denis Villeneuve bracket in the coming weeks when Dune 2 drops, and I'm going through his filmography right now. It's not a major filmography, but everything he does is quite dense and long, so I really have to push through all of the long stuff so that I can watch the stuff that I haven't seen yet, because I've seen the majority of his filmography, but I haven't seen his earlier stuff, which I'm quite excited to see. And try to find it in English, which is the other challenge I'm having right now.
Yeah, some stuff that
because I don't speak French.
Yeah, it sounds like a you problem. Because I found one of them, but it's only in French. So yeah, it's definitely gotta pay a bit more attention than I usually do. Just like fully focused in, to get all of that. We'll see how many we actually end up choosing. It's hard because he doesn't have 16 films yet to get a proper seating for the bracket, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, I watched some movies as well. I'll keep it brief as well if you want to hear more of that. I still do that sort of weekly show, although I was sick a couple of weeks, so I couldn't really do it weekly, which is ironic because it's a weekly roundup, right? But I did watch Madam Web. Yeah, man, I was like, hey, I'm not going to the press screening for this one. I'm not taking the time to go like to big town. Went to a smaller theater, and it was my God, there weren't a ton of people there. It feels like a film that is very entertaining in a way that, like, it's one of those films that is so bad that it's kind of entertaining again. And that was kind of a pleasant surprise for the film, because it is horrible. But at all times, you're just like questioning the choices that they make. And that makes for at least some sort of entertainment. It's not good, but it's entertaining in some way. Then Lisa Frankenstein, I think was all right for what it was setting out to achieve. Zelda Williams, I think, directorial debut, right? Has this like weird tone of sort of teenage angst. So I feel like some people are really gonna vibe with it, like the undead and hating everyone around you, and basically all of that stuff. It wasn't really up my speed, but it did make me laugh a couple of times, just because the comedy is very like big swings the whole time, and you might just feel like it's tonally all over the place and bad, which it is at times, but it just doesn't really take itself too seriously. So yeah, it's pretty decent. One Day got a 10-episode series, the famous book that got a movie starring Anne Hathaway in the mid-2000s. It's one that I'm still perplexed by its ending that it chooses, because it doesn't really lead up to do any of it, and it pulls the rug out from under you for no reason whatsoever. It's basically just like torturing these two people over 10 years or 15 years as they like connect every year for a day, or you get to see one day of their life. It was better than I expected. Definitely works better than the film. I don't think the film is very good. This one's slightly better. Then I saw Lost in the Night. Thanks for the screener that I got sent for the film. This was a film that I had on my radar in Cannes this year, but ultimately wasn't able to make time for attending a screening for it. It stars Ezra Exposito, who got most of her fame from starring in Elite. I remember that making huge numbers on Netflix, and here it's about a young man who grows up in a small mining town, and there's a lot of corruption that's going on with the mines, and the reaction that people get when they're anti-miners is anti-miners. They're against young people. And yeah, there's even some murder that goes on, and it's him going through I guess that trauma that he still has. Is there someone that he can find who's ultimately responsible for his pain? I think it isn't as focused as it needs to be on that central character, and is sometimes kind of caught up with just meandering in certain moments. Can't say I loved it, but it's pretty decent. Players on Netflix, basically a mix up of a couple different mid-2000s sitcom shows, like How I Met Your Mother with Barney. There's a group of like friends that are like players and do schemes to get people into their beds, and that's the movie. It's all right. It's incredibly generic. You can see where the movie is going from the literal first minute, and it doesn't really do anything to subvert those expectations. So yeah, it's kind of underwhelming. And then lastly, I saw Megamind. Yeah, there's a certain fascination with, I think, our generation, or maybe a couple of years older than us as well. I don't know if it's a couple of years younger. I'm not entirely sure, but there's a lot of love for this film, and I don't understand it. Like, where do you land? How do you remember Megamind?
I remember it being one of the best films of my childhood.
Of your childhood, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. It definitely captures this like over the top nature of maybe some Nickelodeon shows, like stuff like that, where everything is kind of just over the top, and also a bit like, ooh, they can do that in animation for children. It kind of is right on the verge of, hey, there's someone being killed in the film. I didn't like it at all. He was such an incel for the entire movie, and it was like distracting. Didn't really like it. And how bad the sequel trailer is looking, I assume I'm gonna like that even less. But But yeah, that's that. I was so surprised that Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill are in this. I'm also gonna say I don't think Will Ferrell works in animation. I just don't see it. I think his voice is, if it's not connected to his body, I don't think it works that well. But hey, hot
So if
take.
he's a
Hot take
floating
of the
head,
day.
it's okay?
If he's a floating head, then I'm perfectly fine. He can sit in my room all day. He can just hang around. Nothing against that, yeah, whatsoever. I don't hate him in other films as well. I think he's great. And I love to see him bringing him back to sports. He attends a lot of the LA Kings games. He's got like his own little spot that they cut to, similar to Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. Oh, like at football games, they cut to like Will Ferrell at all of the LA King games. Anyways, let's get to the main review of the week. Sean Durkin's Iron Claw. The tragic story about the Von Erich family.
The true story of the inseparable Von Erich brothers, who made history in the intensely competitive world of professional wrestling in the early 1980s. Through tragedy and triumph under the shadow of their domineering father and coach, the brothers seek larger-than-life immortality on the biggest stage in sports.
So I don't know if that's at least a tad bit misleading there in the logline, because I don't know if the brothers are actually the ones seeking that immortality, being the biggest in the sport. It's definitely something they aspire to, but feels more like it's coming from the dad. But hey, we'll get into that a bit more in detail in a spoiler review. The movie comes at a runtime of 132 minutes. It's been received very positively so far at a 4.1 on Letterboxd, a 7.9 on IMDb, and a 73 on Metacritic. So the critics are a bit lower on this one. Had a budget of 60 million and has grossed domestically alone 35.4. So it definitely made its money back for A24, who has to be very happy with it, although I can't say that their release strategy has been the best, because they released it at the very end of the year. Also being late getting those screeners out to people who are voting for all of the awards, which meant that at least at the Oscars, there were no nominations for the Iron Claw, and we'll talk about that if maybe it would have deserved a couple of them. And it is now available on sale on digital, so you can buy the film. You can't rent it yet, and it's also probably gonna end up in about a month's time on Max, because it is another one of the A24 productions. And after that exclusive streaming debut window, they are first gonna drop on Max. So just note here, if you want to save some money, then by all means, might be worth waiting for a bit. But yeah, that's all the stuff you got to know before we talk spoilers. If you want to hear non-spoiler thoughts, we do have a separate video out on the channel already. Then go watch the film and we can discuss the film in detail. But Lachlan, so you were avoiding this film for a bit, right? You weren't in the right mindset to say, I'm not, I don't want to watch something that's probably going to be a bit of a downer story. And now that it's out on digital sale, you were able to catch up with it at home instead of at the theater experience. Would you still like to see it in a theater, or did it work for you on the small screen at home?
I think it would work in either situational viewing. I don't seek out sport films. It's just not something that I engage with that well. I said, I didn't watch the Rocky films until last year. I wasn't a big boxing movie guy, even if it's wrestling, it's not the same sport. I'm just, I don't engage with it that well. But the best part about the Iron Claw is that is not the focus of the story. Yes, it is an aspect of the story, but it is not the focus. And I do kind of regret not seeing it in cinemas. I think that it would have been a really fantastic time in the cinema to be engrossed with it, but I have a decent setup here so I can watch it and be engrossed. Yes. So I don't really mind watching it at home. And it did allow me to kind of pause when I needed to, because the film is intense, and it does, when you think things are going to get better, they just don't.
Yeah.
You think that they're like, oh, they're gonna make it. Boom, it doesn't, and I did have to pause. It was a particular point where I had to go, oh, I'm gonna pause because, fuck, that's tragic.
It's so
it sucks.
dark.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, look, I don't think it really matters where you watch it because the film is impactful both ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think final spoiler warning here because we'll get into very specific depths that if you are familiar with the story of the Fanatics and just read the Wikipedia page, you can see what happened to all of them. Basically, only Zac Efron's character Kevin is the one that is still alive. They even got like there's a big difference to real life. This is only it doesn't claim to be based on real events. It's like inspired by them, which is I think a notable difference because they do get rid of one of the brothers, the youngest one, because it would just add another one that shot himself. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, man. It's just a really, really sad story. And at one point, like halfway through the film, basically right before, I guess, David, Harris Dickinson, leaves to Japan, it's they have that one happy moment where there's like the montage, right? Where it's all three of them just working together, being in the ring together. You can see them having a good time. Kevin gets his own place. They are fighting. All seems to be going well. And then basically the rest of the film, you are just focusing on all of the trauma that they experience after David's death. And this whole family is kind of broken after that. And what do you think? A film that is obviously like based on something true here. How do you approach that in a way where you're not just letting the audience sit in the sadness of it all, and that's the entertainment? Do you think like this movie adds enough to itself to justify existing? Because I feel like it's always like a tricky problem. Not that we can't depict something like that, but for it to feel like it's still respecting the dead and the hurt that has come before it.
Obviously, you have to be careful when adapting a story like this, and it's the same where it's based off of any sort of true story. You have to adapt it faithfully, and you have to adapt it to explore themes that are worth exploring. If you adapt something and make it insulting, the family will have a backlash. I mean, the first one that's coming to my mind right now is the Bruce Lee adaptation in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Because that got heavy backlash. And I'm sure there are other examples that we could give of...
I mean, Priscilla would be another one, but
Priscilla's
she died
a good
right
one.
Before she,
And there are examples of that throughout any adaptation of a story to film, because it doesn't matter how the story is told and written. Once it's visually shown, there is probably a bit more impactfulness instead of just reading an adaptation of this brother shot themselves. Well, cool. You read it, you don't see it, but to then see it happen on screen does cause a bit more of a feeling inside of you, especially with a lot of audiences. But the film explores really interesting themes of family, trauma, distance,
brotherhood,
parents, brotherhood, wanting to achieve a goal that's not your own. Legacy is a great one. It explores a lot of interesting themes, and it all really revolves around Holt McCannely's Fritz not achieving his goal of being the world heavyweight champion, and he needs to be the strongest to protect this family, to then that becoming his kids' job and role. Each of them have their own thing that they want to do. The best example is what's Jeremy Allen White's character, Kerry. Kerry was an athlete, and it happened in the year where the games were held in Russia. The US said, we're not going to go to this country during this time. and he loses out on that option and he has to wait 4 years. Well, what's he going to do? Keep training? No, his dad goes, this is a moment for you. So the film explores these ideas of, you know, Fritz's trauma of not becoming the world heavyweight champion and puts that on them. And even still, it shows the toxic masculinity that existed in this time, where it wasn't a manly thing to do to give your emotions and present your emotions put them on display. And I think a really interesting tidbit that I read was the director Sean Durkin asked that Zac Efron not cry until the final scene. He was like, "Don't cry," and that's a really good idea because the final scene where he's crying is really impactful. He holds it in the entire time. He holds it in where his brothers die. Even when his brothers kill themselves in front of him, he holds it back. He holds it in as a bloke. He keeps all of his emotions inside of him, and there is only one moment that he gets to have where he cries, and that's right at the end of the film. And I think that's a really impactful moment, and that's some really interesting storytelling and really nice tiny attention to detail that you don't really notice throughout the film, and then it does give it a bigger impact when that moment happens.
Yeah, and I think it goes without saying that I think Zac Efron is a big highlight of this film. He brings the physicality to that role. It's like, I mean, my God, not that Jeremy Allen White isn't, like, when he takes off his shirt, he's like, that's all muscle. And we've all seen the Calvin Klein ad. But Zac Efron is just on a different level, and hearing that, like, that process that must be pretty hard to work through that, because his character is so close to breaking a lot of the time. It's also a smart choice to have as many scenes with with Pam, Lily James, because you can see the inadequacies that come through solely living for his father's dream. They are nothing outside of wrestling. Nothing. He hasn't added anything of value to their lives. So when they can achieve that, when they are underwhelming, they fall down the ranks of the very, like, a literal listing that his father has in his mind of his sons. Then there's nothing left for them in the world, and it's so incredibly depressive. It's really sad, and it ultimately, I think, for a story like this, I assume in real life that there's a bit more of the dad not just being a bad guy, I assume, but maybe it isn't. That's, like, up to, I guess, the story that we get here. But in this, I feel like his character is a bit one note. It does work for the film. I wouldn't say it's like a character study on him. He's more of, like, I guess, just representing bad parenting and I guess a forced down legacy, you know, and what that can kind of cause, all the hurt that can cause. Yeah, if you're not letting basically your children live their own lives. And I think his wife Doris is pretty much the same level of responsible here, because she seems to be someone who's willingly ignoring any sort of red flags that she sees. Basically just like, no, yeah, that's something you guys have to discuss yourselves, and it's all in God's will. It's all through religion. That's, like, it's all predetermined. And yeah, it feels really depressing, and ultimately even more for these kids. If that's all they learned growing up, then it's clear that it would lead them down the route of self-harm and suicide ultimately, because they feel like if it's not in the cards for them, then it's never going to happen. What am I doing here? We're part of this curse. It's ultimately just gonna get us all, and you kind of giving in, and them surrendering to that one by one is it's heartbreaking. And I saw it in a theater, and I couldn't pause, and I was like, at one point it felt like I was just kind of locked into my seat and tied down. I had to take like a breather after I got out of the theater, because it was like, that was some of the heaviest shit I've seen in a film in a long time. But it's also shot very beautifully on 35mm. I think it's like the perspective it takes, oftentimes showing us a wide scene and then often landing on Kev's perspective at the end of the day, or starting with like the dad's perspective in the ring and then transitioning into the ring. I think it's constructed in a very clever way that without telling us much of the exposition, it does so much exposition without that ever feeling like, hey, it's dumping it all on you. And like it's setting up that Carrie has a drinking and substance abuse problem pretty early on. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like it has gone a lot of care into depicting this real life story in a respectful way, in a somewhat, at least for the first bit, when it's not just all tragic, in a very entertaining way, and also in a very cinematic way. It's a shame it's so overlooked at the Oscars, but hopefully some people will check it out and give it a shot. Yeah, Lachlan, anything else you wanna talk about?
Nah, other than just I agree with the whole Oscar snub thing.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, just a lot of good movies, I guess, this year, so it's hard to get in there. And I think definitely Zac Efron could have maybe had a shot to get in, maybe even Jeremy Allen White. But yeah, there will be other roles, I guess. Also, just that one scene where he flips a coin for who gets to go for the heavyweight champion. It's also very interesting how it basically depicts Kevin's lack of not getting these opportunities, and the limelight fully onto him is what kind of saves him in a way, but also does it. Is there like a curse? And to me, I was very happy to see that he's still around. There's like a picture I have in the show notes where it's basically his whole family, and he has just a lot of grandchildren, a lot of 4 children, and just a lot of family to go around. And for someone who, at least from the movie version, seems to have been so focused on, I guess, after his older brother died, being the eldest brother, having the eldest brother syndrome, like Lily James says in that one scene where they are on their first date, to basically have a big family that seems to be doing okay, even though they had to go through all of that trauma, is heartwarming. So it's not just all depressing. Lachlan, where do you arrive at as a rating for those? I guess who watched our non-spoiler review already kind of know where you land on it. I wonder if it's changed since then. I'm
pretty positive with the film, exploring the themes of toxic masculinity, generational trauma, I guess, breaking that cycle, if you may. I really, really enjoyed that, and I found the performances to be absolutely spectacular. I know we said that there's a bit of a snub for Zac Efron, but I think Jeremy Allen White, Holt as well, both deserve a shout out, because their roles are very small, but they do a fantastic job as well. For me, I arrived at a 4 stars. Yeah.
I'm sticking with a 4.5 for this one. Really, just from the outside looking into my top 10. Similar to like a couple of weeks ago when we discussed All of Us Strangers. There's just not enough space in my top 10 for all of the great films that came out last year, or so people get to catch up early this year, I guess. But I hope you're giving it a shot, even if you are waiting until it comes out on Max or some other, I guess, streaming service. But Lachlan, if you were to pair it up with another film, which one would you pick?
I've been trying to figure that out since the start of the episode, because I always forget to write it, so I'm trying to figure out what would be the best option.
The Iron Man?
I feel like that's a good one. I feel like a film,
the Iron Giant,
like this. I was actually going to pick the Iron Giant. It's a really good one. There's a couple of films that I could talk about. Where you talk about trauma, where you talk about family, and you have these stars in the film that are fantastic, and they really steal the show. So for me, a film about Trauma, Brotherhood, famous stars acting in it. There's only one film I could really associate with it, and it's from 2009. It's Brothers.
Brothers.
It's Tobey Maguire, Jake Gyllenhaal. The boys coming home
Boys.
after Afghanistan. There's
Yeah,
Trauma. Their
I haven't seen
brotherhood,
that one.
their relationship. It's great performances from Jake Gyllenhaal and Tobey Maguire, and Natalie Portman. She's in it as well. She's fantastic.
Of course, I might check it out myself. I'm going with a tie into maybe something that, well, I guess something that's coming out next week. Also on the theme of trauma, I'm going with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Not the show, but M. Night Shyamalan's movie. So probably equal level of trauma you experience from watching the Iron Claw and that film. And yeah, as we get a new live action 8-episode adaptation of the series, I urge you to, I guess, re-watch that one. I think it's probably streaming somewhere. They probably are like on some dumping ground. They just like, yeah, take it, watch that. It's there. So yeah, maybe in preparation for it, because the new releases of the week, in the week of February 23rd, we are getting a couple of things that are coming out on VOD or digital, namely Avatar: The Last Airbender over on Netflix. Then we are also getting the third in the Through My Window series. Looking at You is the subtitle for this one. Now, Lachlan, you might be asking yourself, why are you talking about this? Who cares about it? It's a Spanish, like basically Wattpad story about like sexual fantasies. Basically, like it's fan fiction. And the thing is, I've watched the first two because I have such an utter fascination of not just because I watch everything, but because it's so bizarre. The first one was so strangely weird and bad, and the second one was so overdramatic in a way. In like the way that it had like a big ending, and I can't wait for the third one. I'm like maybe even watching that before I watch Avatar. It's so uniquely bad that yeah, I gotta give it a try. Then the Venice premiere, The Promised Land, Bastard, then with Mads Mikkelsen, is finally hitting VOD. I know it didn't get a theatrical release in a lot of places, so you'll be able to catch up on that. The Zone of Interest, as it rolls out more internationally, is coming out on video, on premium video on demand, so only buy, but do buy. It's a great film. Then Mean Girls, Lachlan doesn't have anything positive to say about that one, but that's also coming out on digital, same as Memory. Kevin praised this one quite a bit. I might even like it more, and yeah, just a great film. Go check it out. Then All of Us Strangers also is moving into, I think, the rent window, so a bit cheaper than Occupied City. Lachlan, it's a film that we caught from Steve McQueen, 4.5 hours long. Now perfectly experienced at leisure at your home, where you can tune in and out. I think this is definitely the best experience. Don't go see it in a theater. That's out on digital. And then lastly, with that deal that A24 and Warner Brothers has with Max, Priscilla is streaming on Max. And then we get two films that are worth highlighting in US theaters and also in Australian theaters. Drive Away Dolls from solo director Ethan Cohen. I think they're doing another film together. They've announced that. It's funny that they were like, oh, the Safdie split up, the Cohen split up. It's like Cohen's are doing another movie again. I don't know. But yeah, this one's coming out next week. Won't be the film that we talk about next week because it isn't out until the beginning of March for me here in Switzerland. And then also Tenet is getting a re-release in theaters for a couple of weeks. Then out in limited release in the States is About Dry Grasses. Great film. Go catch up on that. Got snubbed for an Oscar, but Io Capitano got an Oscar instead. The Italian submission is out in limited release as well. Out in Swiss theaters, we are getting May, December. It's already on the Netflix in the States, so if you have a VPN, you can go see it right now, but it's worth the theatrical experience. I already have like at least half a dozen people who are gonna watch it because of me, because I've been so positive on it as soon as it comes out here, so I'm looking forward to that. Then we got Green Border, a film that we both caught, that Kevin and I caught in Venice, that is quite serious, that is good. Another one, Dogman, also out digitally, but it's coming out in Switzerland. And then The Pot-au-Feu, La Poisson de Don des Bouffons is out in Swiss theaters. The French submission to the Oscars that ultimately didn't get the nomination. Then Lachlan for you in Australia, Soul is out, and you are also getting The Zone of Interest in theaters this week. In Switzerland, it's not out until the 29th of February, which is crazy. We're getting it's a, what is it called? Not a quarter year. What is it called when we get to 29th in February? I've never used that term in English. A leap year. Yes, leap year is what this year is, and it feels like the perfect starting date for The Zone of Interest, I guess, at least here in Switzerland. But that's it for this week. Next up, we are taking a look at The Zone of Interest after it has become available on streaming. So go give that a try. It certainly is worth it. I would also love to see it in a theater again. I don't know if it hits as much when I see it at home on my TV, but I'll give it a rewatch. This one I've been looking forward to for a while. Then we'll also try to catch up with all 8 episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't have a lot of confidence in the show, if I'm being honest, but hey, I'll give it a chance. We'll wait and see. But yeah, in the meantime, leave us a rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and consider leaving a like and subscribing on our YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.